in 2023, BlueScope announced a master plan to develop 200 hectares of unused land right next to the Port Kembla Steelworks. And that is an area, like 200 hectares, it's an area bigger than the Melbourne CBD. It's like the equivalent of like 400 football stadiums. It's a huge impact. In fact, BlueScope Managing Director and CEO Mark Vasella at the time called it one of the most significant land transformation and job creation opportunities in Australia. And today I'm joined by Michael Yiend, who is the Head of Property Development for BlueScope, to talk about this.
Great, thank you for having me on.
Thank you. I'm Nicky Sloan. I'm the CEO of Community Industry Group, and I'm coming to you today from the beautiful lands of the Dharawal people to bring you Community Matters, the podcast that talks about issues that are important with the community, with the people who are making a difference. And it's important that we think about being on Dharawal land today, because actually what we're talking about is very much the lands of the Dharawal people.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. So that's a really significant announcement, and this master plan is going to create opportunities for the community. So why did BlueScope decide to do that?
Well, the land, we actually refer to it as non-operational land, and it was actually previously operational land. That's where steel making in the Illawarra commenced nearly 100 years ago. And then progressively, as manufacturing of steel and steel products has moved towards the port end with land reclamation and further expansion, these areas have now no longer actively used for the operational needs. So the business looked at that land and wanted to be able to give it a new lease of life, and looked at how do you master plan this to create new employment, create new industries that support not only steel making into the future, but as well as the diversification of vocations in the area rather than just the steel making that BlueScope has traditionally provided as a industry pathway and a career pathway in the area.
So partnering with other industries and looking at other options.
So the master plan is looking first and foremost at how do you unlock the land and get these additional uses within that footprint. The rezoning process that we've just undergone and we're in the middle of with the State Department of Planning through a state assessed rezoning process opens up a diverse use of industries within the area. Currently, it's limited pretty much to heavy industry, so steel making, steel manufacturing. The rezoning will enable pretty much any other use with the exclusion of more sensitive development uses like residential. You don't really want to be having residential development adjacent to heavy industry and things like schools. But everything from education through to community facilities, energy-related assets, manufacturing, logistics, all those uses and other industries master planned within this area to then be able to get the investment, get the development, and then start to re-stimulate that land that was previously the heart of steel making in the area.
So you talk, I love that there's 4 pillars really in this master plan. It's connecting industries, which you've spoken about, connecting communities, connecting country, and connecting ecology. So beautiful pillars on which to build this master plan. Of course, we're Community Matters, so yeah. I'd love to hear more about how this project is going to strengthen community relationships and resilience. How's it going to contribute to something like that?
Well, you gave a good overview about the size and the scale of this land holding. 200 hectares, it's a lot of land. So unlocking value out of it with some of the commercial developments and other tenants, as I said, that helps add value with synergistic uses that will support the steel making. But with 200 hectares of land, we also have areas that have decent biodiversity in there, so we can actually enhance the ecology in those areas, put a bit of money into it and actually preserve some of those ecological areas with waterways and some of the watercourses and pond areas. We have green and gold bell frogs currently on the site, which we have a preservation area, which we will obviously continue to maintain, and then we'll enhance further ecology in around that area. With the community, connecting back into the community, historically this was steelmaking, so obviously high risk area, you can't have it open up to the community to walk in. By opening this area up for redevelopment, it'll open up the permeability of the site, so there'll be public access areas. There's open space areas that we don't intend to develop on that will be open to the community to be able to use. So part of the master plan, as it evolves, areas will be open up to the community to come in and be able to use as public spaces. There will be the ecological areas that are preserved that will also be able to be accessible by the community, as well as the permeability of these new developments and tenants and assets that will be built on the site that will increase the diversity of the employment within the area.
Yeah. I think as a resident of this area, and I'm sure lots of other residents of the area, that BlueScope site has been a bit of a mystery
Yep.
to a lot of us. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have been able to have the tour around in there, and it's immense.
Yes.
It is immense site. But that's a great opportunity for community, because it has felt like a big sealed off area that, right in the heart of our region.
And historically that was it was logically so because of the nature of the industry being conducted there. But these previously operational lands, now we have the opportunity to open it back up, such as Lindenfels, which is the old general manager's house. At the moment, these areas aren't accessible by the community, but by repurposing a use out of them, we're going to be able to open them up for community access so they can actually see some of these areas that are an important part of the history of the region.
Yeah, Lindenfels, it's just a beautiful hidden gem that, most of the community wouldn't even know is there. What a gorgeous spot to be able to open up for everyone. In a past episode of Community Matters, we spoke to someone from Bernardo's who told us about the problems that people on low incomes and the Wollongong area, it can be quite a low socioeconomic area. It's right adjacent to where that steelworks site is. But many people there don't have access to a private vehicle, and Maria was telling us about a young mum who, to get to an appointment with her child, had to catch 2 buses. It took almost 2 hours just to get from Wollongong up to Wollongong Hospital. Do you think there'll be opportunities for more active transport through that area? Will people be able to ride or walk or...?
The answer to that is absolutely yes, and we don't actually, it's not just what I personally think, that is a key part of the master plan. One advantage you have when you have such a large master plan development that does create all these additional uses is that you get the scale and you can actually design into that multiple different transport. So cycling paths, new bus routes that can go through the site because it will need to service all the developments that are within that area. There's currently the rail line that goes through there, and looking at how we can utilise that to be able to reinvigorate some more use of the rail line that goes through. So as part of the master planning process, as we go through and we develop the site out, a key part of it will be the transport assessment and how do we open up multimodal use of different transport uses that will also benefit all the surrounding community, because it won't just be to service that new developed area. The developed area will actually just provide the additional volume of users to then be able to get the additional public transport solutions. Exactly what it looks like at the moment, we can't say. It will evolve, but by unlocking that site and developing it, it will absolutely open up more opportunities and more transport options for people in the area.
The improving connectivity would be fantastic because, we've got those areas, Cringilla, Port Kembla, Warrawong, that are really so close to the CBD, but it's so difficult to get to.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I'm interested in connecting country, and we talked about the fact that it is Dharawal country. It is the land of the Dharawal people. And I wondered how you're connecting with that community to to really work on connecting country as part of the master plan.
There was a fair bit of work done in the initial stages of the master plan to be able to overlay the First Nations input into how the master plan would look at the different areas of use. Whilst we go through and get into more detail about what areas are developed in what stages for what uses, we will be connecting back into the First Nations groups to be able to get a better understanding about their input into how things should be laid out to be sympathetic to the historical, whether it be their dreaming stories, whether it be any of the knowledge that they have of the area into that master plan.
And ecology, who would have thought that within that site, which, you know, from outside looks to be really industrial and very, what's the word? I don't know, degraded. From the outside, you've got amazing pockets of ecology.
Yes.
And that you've already been preserving.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. And through the master plan, we can put additional investment into those areas. So then not only it can hopefully flourish further, people can then access and enjoy the fact that those ecological little gems, little pockets are there.
The master plan, well, I got to see the master plan when it first came out, and of course communities had the opportunity now to comment as well. Can you tell me who developed the master plan and how they were chosen?
Yeah, there was a process run by the team at BlueScope to be able to select some of the global leaders in master planning these large land transformation projects. Big Arc Ingalls was selected, so a Dutch design architect that master plans these type of projects around the world, to then take the lead on how do we look at the site, how do we break it up, what are the important aspects to be able to then master plan connection points, permeability of the site for internal access ways and where the built form should be located, as well as working with us, looking at some of the existing structures as to what ones are logical to be repurposed for a future use and what ones pretty much have gone through their full life cycle and aren't really able to be repurposed for another use.
All of those facilities, is it because making steel has become needs less space now? Like, I mean, you had all of this land under usage, and now you're only using part of it. Is that just a change in steel making process?
It's, as I said, it's been 100 years, and the evolution of the different steel making processes, and as those processes have gone through their working life, has gradually progressed over towards the port side. And as that evolution has happened, the older steel making areas have pretty much run out of their functionality as operational works. There is, to a certain extent, with the nature of steel making, a high utilisation per square metre. You need to be more efficient in this day and age.
Right.
And really, BlueScope is really good at making a good bang for buck out of the area that they operate out of. So that's why we see this as an opportunity to be able to then go through and repurpose this land for a higher and better use that includes a vast array of uses that will support steel making, but don't necessarily involve the direct steel making operation.
And will it stay BlueScope land?
Yes, the intention is that the underlying land will stay as BlueScope land. There's numerous different property structures you can put in place. We need to make sure it's attractive enough to attract external capital to invest. Development of this size is enormous. You're talking billions and billions of dollars in investment into these new structures. We need to make a structure attractive enough to be able to attract that external capital in to develop the site, while still preserving the control of the master plan to make sure it's going to be complementary not only to steel making going forward, but also complementary to what the community needs, because we have a big connection with the community, and unless we're aligned with the community, our steel making business it just does not operate the way it needs to. We're such a large employer in the community, but we actually see the community as such a large part of actually what makes BlueScope a success going forward. It's the people, it is the community. So you need to have that alignment, hence why keeping the layer of control and the underlying land as BlueScope land, so we can make sure all these developments are aligned with what both the community and BlueScope need.
You've got a really interesting partnership already with TAFE, don't you?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, we have an MOU with TAFE New South Wales. So we a key asset class that we are targeting is the R&D and innovation. So that includes assets such as educational assets. To run a steelmaking business, you need a lot of skilled employees, and skills come from diverse range through TAFE background, through university background. And we see it as very complementary to not only the community, but also to the operational business, to be able to work with TAFE to look at how can we build a facility with them that will facilitate these training needs of the future in manufacturing, in renewable energy, products, as well as renewable energy industries. And by having that co-located with the steelworks, we see a really nice complementary use that will actually help make the business more resilient, and also give to the whole area back the innovation that this area is known for.
I wondered about sustainability. I know this has been something that BlueScope really has a strong focus on. How's it being integrated into project ideas and project design?
Steelmaking is a complex business, and that's not my area of expertise within BlueScope, but there is a journey of the progressive decarbonisation of the steelmaking process, and how we continue on a journey to make sure we're commercially viable and relevant as a manufacturer, but also do it in a more sustainable way. And we're constantly improving our processes and setting new targets to be able to then work towards it. The land transformation projects give us an opportunity on the built form, which is, I dare say, a little bit easier, where you can design stuff with a very high sustainability criteria in both the materials you use, in the energy efficiency of the buildings, in the use of the roof space for solar generation, power storage solutions. And that's going to be embedded in the detail that we go as we develop out the site. So it gives us a really good opportunity beyond the more significant challenge of a sustainable steelmaking process, to then be able to develop our buildings in a way that have those very high sustainability standards.
I mentioned earlier that the plan had been out for community consultation.
Yes.
We encouraged everybody to make a submission. I hope people did. But will there be more opportunity, do you think, as this master plan's developed? Will community continually have the opportunity to input and give ideas?
Yes, absolutely. And likewise, I'd like to thank everyone that did make submissions, because they are welcome. We do value very highly the input from the community, because you have different points of view that we may not have thought of. So we do value all that input. And yes, we do have a website, which I'll make sure I don't get it wrong. It's www.bluescopelandtransformation.com.au. So on that website, any other questions, submissions, commentary throughout the evolution of the planning process, the progressive development, we welcome anyone to make submissions or ask any questions through that forum, because we do value all these other perspectives that will help make this development a more successful development.
Wonderful. And we will make sure that we put that website in the show notes, and encourage everybody to have a look at it and to make a comment. So this is, overall, it's a extremely generous plan to give back to the community. I'm sure that, community are extremely grateful for that. But why? That begs the question.
Yeah. I mean, BlueScope, we get a lot of value out of this. if you look at it commercially, by getting a commercial development use out of this land, we will obviously be able to get a return out of that. So that turns what is currently fairly static, old, non-operational land into income-producing land. So that commercially makes sense for BlueScope. With some of the innovation concepts, what we hope to benefit from is some of that new technology or new industries being co-located with BlueScope, and how that will benefit us as a large industrial player. With the educational aspects, that trains a workforce of the future that we need. The steel operating business does not operate without skilled employees, and we need to make sure we create a space for those employees to be trained so then they can work within the industry. What better place to train them but in the area that you operate, rather than try to drag in skilled personnel from other areas and try to attract them to the region. So absolutely there's something in it for BlueScope, and every one of the development components that we're looking at as part of the master plan we see as very synergistic. So we think it's high value for the new tenant or the training facility or the community facility coming into the area, but we see that actually giving a complementary value to BlueScope as an operational business that makes us more resilient and more relevant as a steel producer and a steel product manufacturer going forward, because we need to have this point of difference to be able to continue to compete into the future on the world stage.
Mm. So good for community and good for BlueScope.
Correct.
And when you were talking about education and the jobs, I saw that Deloitte had estimated about another 20,000 jobs out of this.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, that'll be over time. Obviously, you're not going to flick a switch and have that many. So historically at its peak, that was in the order of what the steel manufacturing business employed on the site. We're now directly and indirectly probably about half that. So we do see it as an opportunity to build up the employment on the land that BlueScope controls, albeit in a not steel-making business, a more diverse industry, but a complementary industry. So whether it be community-related industries, whether it be research development, education, logistics, energy-related assets, those diverse uses are very complementary to being co-located to a heavy industry steel operation. So if we can build those numbers back up to where they were, that'd be a real success for the business.
This podcast is called Community Matters. Could you tell everyone about a person or people in the community that matter to you?
Probably the first that comes to mind, and is maybe just because it's really relevant to the topic that we're talking about, is the legacy that the management and directors of BlueScope, both current and also historically, have actually done within the region. Their foresight in how they've actually managed the site and the land to give us the opportunity within my team to be able to then transform this land is quite important. And we've only had that because they've been able to keep relevant in Australia manufacturing. There's not many manufacturing industries left in Australia. A lot is offshored. We're mainly an importer. And through their decisions over the decades, they've kept steel making and the manufacture of steel related products commercially viable and relevant in a country which we don't do a lot of manufacturing. So I think the legacy that they've done has enabled us to continue to be a significant employer, and also enables BlueScope to be able to be relevant within a world now where we don't do a lot of manufacturing in Western countries, and in particular in Australia. So I find that quite inspirational. There's a lot of countries that have lost that manufacturing capability, and I think it's testament to the culture and the decisions that have been made over the decades of those executive and directors that have kept the company relevant.
Yeah, when you think about it, it honours the legacy of the Hoskins family. When they first started, they came to this area intentionally and created manufacturing. But also what you're doing with the master plan honours their commitment to community too, because we know that the Hoskins family gave lots of incredible gifts to this community. Our beautiful botanical gardens, the gorgeous Glenifer Brae that sits right in the middle of it. So much of our public space has already been gifted by the Hoskins family, and this is a lovely way to continue that tradition.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us today. That's been a really fascinating chat and an amazing contribution to community coming forward. Thank you all for tuning in to Community Matters. Please join us again when we discuss issues that impact our community with people who are making a difference.